pleasure for me to respond to Dr. T.N. Yesudasan sir's, Professor T.N. Yesudasan sir's talk. I am a student of Yesudasan sir in EFLU. He offered us a course over there when he was a visiting faculty over there. Then I was doing my MPhil in progressive literary movements in Kerala. And then afterwards, I pursued my PhD was on internal displacements in India. So when I listened to his talk about post-Muthanga, especially what happened in Muthanga and what is happening now in Keralam, and especially after listening to the journalist Shaji, I feel that like some of my research maybe could contribute to their lectures, to their talks. Thank you so much, both of you, for giving us such an elaborate talk on the Dalit issues, Adivasi issues, especially in connection with development and land acquisition that are happening in Keralam recently. So my doctoral research, as I mentioned, was on internal displacements in post-independence India, and the work attempted to make an archive of the voices in resistance against coercive displacements within the country, which are mainly induced by various developmental projects, land acquisition, mining, etc. The work focused on various movements, issues, and projects in connection with the land, and by archiving the voices, by archiving the narratives or the voices in resistance, the work, the research initiated to inquire and explore into the prospects of rehabilitation and resettlement programs. It is an undeniable fact that still now we don't have an unchallenged and effective national rehabilitation policy. And it is observed that among the displaced from 1951 to 1991, which are majorly due to Sardar Sarovar project, 75% of them are not properly rehabilitated. And moreover, rehabilitation centers are depicted as corrugated tin sheds, which are furnaces during the summers and refrigerators, fridges in the winters. And pathetically, children die in these centers of malnutrition and of various diseases. So, even though Adivasis, the tribal communities, constitute only 8% of our population, more than 40% of the displaced people in India are Adivasis. So, in this context, it is important to look into, besides the economic aspects of the issue, it is the work focused on socio-cultural issues of displacement and rehabilitation. As Arundhati Roy identified, in the millions of internally displaced people in India are refugees of unacknowledged war. Though UNHCR insisted on recognizing internally displaced people as refugees, these communities are still project affected persons. They are called as PAPs. They're still project affected persons, and they still don't have the rights or status of refugees. When you come to the social aspects of rehabilitation and resettlement policies, so these programs, they do not concentrate on, as they do not concentrate on community rehabilitation, the forced evictions disrupt the social life and cultural binding of Adivasis. Hence, in the course of forced evictions, which happen more than once, particularly the Adivasi communities subject to social alienation and cultural uprooting. A sociologist, Mohammad Asif, has pointed out that the displaced people tend to leave rehabilitation centers resettlement centers, rehabilitation centers, as they feel alienated over there. First and foremost, they are not welcomed over there by the natives, and they feel that they are under some kind of surveillance over there. Every act of theirs is a subject of discussion, something that needs to be studied and recorded. So these rehabilitation centers are really panopticon for them. And there is an example that in early 2000s, the Odisha Forest Department, when they attempt to shift to Adivasi villages from the Simlapal Wildlife Sanctuary, these this attempt was futile because after shifting them, those who are displaced, or those who are resettled, actually these people came back after a while to their forest villages. And Koya tribes in Orissa and even Madhya Pradesh, Bansal in Madhya Pradesh. So they are cut off from bamboo by law, which is their uh, uh, which is their existence, which is their livelihood for both the communities. It's the livelihood. Bamboo is the livelihood for both the communities, but by law, both the communities were cut off from bamboo. So in this context, a lot of resistance came up against this cultural uprooting, and yeah, we are we have some of the poets, activists. Some of them are even not known. So I thought I will bring into forth like some of the poems that I have archived as part of my research. So in a memoir, when S.R. Gupta, a Gujarati activist, a tribal activist, he was saying that we are nature born, and we coexist with it, we grow with it. So we discover our history. You snatched away our land, so we must take back the land and the forest that you snatched from us, and we should discover our history. So all these narratives, they uphold the importance of importance of the memory, past, and culture or history, which is as their identity, and which is very important for, which is indispensable for their survival. So there's one poem called "Time to Rise." This is a Gujarati poem, again translated from Gujarati. So this poem says that this poem starts with what uses of your sickle? They have snatched away the land from us. So this poem talks about the Adivasis being robbed of their land and property. So what is the point in using this sickle and still working, doing hard work? We are still hard working, and we are robbed of our land and property. So it is our responsibility to take back our land for our coming generations. And this poem talk about definitely most of these poems talks about the poverty. So this poem talks about poverty, and this poem talks about the encroachment of influential patels, people like patels over there, and they extracted us out of our money. They extracted us of our money, as say promising that our names will be there in the records. So over here, we should remember that C.K. Janu in her work, Mother Forest, says that our huts don't have numbers, so we don't have water and electricity. So this is what we still have to live. Adivasis still have to live in huts, and we don't have freedom in the cities. Footpath dwellers are sent to destitute homes. Even animals are sent to, animals can't roam around in the cities. They are sent to shelter homes. So our freedom is over here. This is our livelihood. This is our living. So our community life should not be disrupted. And when the poem ends, it's saying that hold my finger, let's write our forgotten history. So it's important to write. Why should we beg? Why should we beg for food in our land? Hold my finger, let's write our forgotten history. So this is the poem. And another poem, which is called Self-Grooming. And this poem is very interestingly, this poem is critiquing the system of education that the Adivasis are forced to endorse. So our Adivasi brothers and sisters are not allowing their children to chase butterflies, cattle and butterflies. Now they are going to school. So the kind of schooling that they are being fed, that is being questioned over here. So we have to abandon our tradition and our attire to be a part of the so-called progressive, to become a part of the so-called progressive. And yeah, but still we use our language, tell stories in our language, and we narrate, sing songs and tell stories in our language. So this is where, like, they're talking about the importance of language. They understand how important their language is, though their language has the status of dialect by this, authorities, by this mainstream understanding. Most of the Adivasi languages are not promoted, but over there in their resistance, they use their language. So this was even, like, when I was doing my research, it was a little difficult for me to get things translated, but thankfully many things are, because of some connections, I got them translated, and some of them were even published earlier. So that's how I could manage to collect these poems, and these slogans and these personal testimonies. And yeah, so self-grooming, again, this poem, yeah, ends by saying that, okay, now we have learned new economics. Now we are eyeing mountains and forests like thieves do. Now we learn, like these people, how to suck others' blood. So, this kind of a new kind of learning is being imposed upon us by this new system of education. That's what they are criticized. That's what is being criticized over here in this poem, self-grooming. And the other one is I remember, I remember. So this is again an interesting poem, because this every other after every other line, this refrain comes up. I remember, I remember, I remember, I remember, I remember the old days. I remember we were the kings of forest. I remember, remember we raised forest. I remember. So again, a kind of reassurance of the past is coming up. Okay, this is ours. So a reassurance of the past, and we have all the right to. We have all the right to live here. So we should preserve our rights. We should fight for our rights to be preserved. So and even in the poem, this even in the poem self-grooming, they're saying that, okay, we now we are not making idols. Now we are not making idols of our forebears, neither making idols nor worshipping our forebears. So this is actually being part of, what kind of worship, what kind of god, what kind of idols are we supposed to follow according to this new system of education. Now over here in this poem, I remember, so a kind of as I've said, a kind of past is being ensured, and it is our forest is our rights, and we should retain the forest. It is our right. So that kind of, and even the kind of, environmentalists this Adivasis are, like they are, kind of completely different kind of environmental attitudes that they have. They never uh, 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 they never want to utilize or explore expend anything at its core. So they have a wonderful idea of environment, or how it needs to be treated. And then the last one is O government. So we are generations old O government. That's why we are called Adivasis O government. So over here, there again, you have made new laws O government, and these new laws are we shall go Birsa way O government. So over here, this O government, this refrain, again, it has different meaning when it comes up each time. I feel like this is kind of one could be a curse, one could be a kind of mourning, one could be a kind of making the government responsible. Your laws are like machine made, and so government is they are responsible, or the state is responsible for the capitalist kind of exploitation that's happening over here. The land or the forest is being sold to the capitalists, with the support of the government, with the support of the state. That's what is being criticized over here. So even when you think about the cause of forced evictions, most of the forced evictions are administered by threats. Like in 1961, when the Barji Dam, no, Pang Dam. Morarji Desai was addressing the people at the zone of Morarji Desai was addressing these people at the submergence zone of Pang Dam. So he was saying that if you are not, if the communities are not ready to leave their land on their own, then the authorities, like they could drown, as the authorities are entitled to release the water. So these kinds of threats were there, constant threats were there for behind every other forced eviction. And when in the construction of Barji Dam at Narmada, this Rambhai, who is an Adivasi and whose village got submerged, he was saying that, he was cursing that why don't this government just poison us so we don't have to live in this shitholes. So this was the kind of resistance from this part of these communities. Like it is really, I feel that it is important to collect these poems and short stories and their writings, and only then we will understand what kind of an emotion or what kind of a new kind of reading has been coming up. Like when we go through these poems, we can see that the kind of conventional kind of reading is being sabotaged. The metaphor is being reversed. It is not the real the kind of embellishment that we generally see in the poems are is what we are seeing over there. Like it is not the general kind of embellishment is what we can see over there. So the kind of writing is different, and the metaphor is being reversed, and hence it is powerful. Thank you so much.